If your question whether this is intended to prevent stores from opening, the answer is no. It is not intended to prevent stores from opening. We don't have support for Zoom at this point. Our clerk is not available today. How do you know it's not working?
I just want to clarify on the, I think.
I can't believe it. We're going to proceed with an in-person meeting. Yes, Abe.
When there's hotels and traveling people and bed and breakfast and other stuff. How many stores do you have right now that give application open? How many stores?
I don't have an answer to that. How many stores are currently? What I'm saying, this is to address a particular problem. This is to address a particular issue for the opportunity for commercial stores to open. Should we choose to, in the future, amend the law for other purposes? Is there an open application for another business right now?
There's only about 3-4 stores left. And there's other eventually. Why who took out the hotels, motels, and what's the difference?
I will repeat what I said because am I hearing that you want this to apply to any type of business, any type of use?
Just a couple stores.
So do I understand right that what you're suggesting is that you want the addition?
I'm not suggesting, I'm asking questions.
Oh, okay. I thought you were moving for the suggestion by
no,
question.
I'm questioning.
Oh, okay. So we thought that most residential opportunities would be able to handle on the existing block.
But why do you need to go to a mixed use? You're approving stores for 50 seats without parking. You're doing it.
We are.
You approved without enough parking.
Right.
But the planning board approved an application for a tavern, which defined suitable parking, enough parking space to accommodate all of the seating as per their application. Yes, there was. We are not litigating that issue. They satisfied the parking requirement. Yes, they did.
They are short.
No.
So anyway, we've been working on this since November, right? We've been trying to get input from people about license, stability of license, right? I have no business here that I want to supply parking to. We started in November, basically having, and the whole genesis of the zoning change is to try to bring businesses to life. Try to have this new rebirth of Fleischman and more opportunities and more jobs in Fleischman. And that's where we came up with this. I understand that you might have a different idea about what should happen, and that's what makes America great.
You understand my question, yeah?
Yeah, I understand the question. But you have to, we've been working on this since November, and this is what we came up from our group as something that we thought was important to facilitate some new businesses to come into the community. So the mayor graciously, in talking to her, scheduled this public hearing. We're getting public input from you folks. We're getting public input from other folks. You know, maybe there's some text in here that has to be changed, but this is what we came up with after months and months of working on it.
What's the 1880? Excuse me. What's the 1880?
That's out of the zone.
The law.
That's out of the law.
It doesn't say.
Well, of course, it comes from the zoning law. That's the section.
What is it? So,
did you read it before you came here?
no. Oh, okay. I didn't get it.
Right, so that's the section and the existing information that's in the zoning law, okay? That's where the section is where it tells gives you the parking requirements that we're changing.
How much applications do you have for stores to open this? And you know, any store that want to open now? I mean, it's an emergency. What's the emergency? Who's the other store that just opened?
What we're trying to do,
I asked him, shit, you want to wait 6 months because tell me another store that wants to open now that's ready to open.
I plan to open another store, so I haven't done the site plan review. I plan to.
Okay, so we have there are no current,
By the way, I'm very upset that there's a place, she has a store here, and I have pictures, 20 pictures that she double parked by the store.
okay, this is a public hearing for the purposes of, getting feedback with regard to the proposal at hand, not about any other issue that you may have. Yes.
First of all, thank you. It's been a mammoth task, and I think it's a very good solution. You've spoken to other people in other situations, and know that there was input from Delaware County as well. And the point is that it's not a question of which store is opening today or tomorrow. This is about the future of license. There are many individual lots in this town, including one adjacent to this building, which ultimately might become a possible business. So let's not cut ourselves short by asking today which business is opening. I don't quite understand the point of that. The point is that we want to open the doors up to more people who can open businesses and give those opportunities to commercial tenants. We understand that that is the part of the business area here, and that is the mixed use area, and we want to develop that. So I am very much in favor of this, and I thank the board for all the work that they've done. Thank you.
Further comments? If you'd like to have a conversation, about another topic, Abe, the purpose of this meeting, if there are any other comments, I would like to hear from anyone else who would like to.
all the questions should go to the board. Please don't talk amongst yourselves. Comments are on.
Okay, are there any other comments which have not yet been presented to the group? Yes.
I had said there's double park. At the same time, I took pictures. Across the street was empty, and they still double park. They had enough parking across the street. Why did it have to be illegal parking?
Mr. Benzovic, this is not the topic of this public hearing. That's not the topic of this public hearing at this point in time. And any other further comments that we haven't yet heard? If there are no further comments, we will take into consideration concerns about the yes.
Does this allow overnight parking?
No. Right. This is a change that has been put forward to provide a particular pathway for businesses to open. This is not the end of the possibilities of changes to the village law, but this is something to facilitate forward motion at this point in time. If there are no further comments and questions, I will close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you very much for your comments. We are what's the board's feeling at this point in time? This has been reviewed by our attorney. This has been reviewed by the consultant that we've hired to assist in the the language and the formulation of the law, the amendment to the law. And so the question is, does the board want to adopt this today? Or do we want to give some thought and further conversation with our consultant, with the assistance of the committee? Do you have any, Rob, and other members of the committee, Francia, and Vicky, given the comments that have been made, are there tweaks that you see as coming forward for this particular iteration? Yes.
The suspension of the regulations for specifically commercial enterprises, which by the way, also that means age store, is logical given the fact that people who are patronizing businesses are not going to market for hours and hours and hours. Most people simply come to their business for need. So there's no need for dedicated parking for any business in that particular. And it benefits everyone.
Okay, so we have a choice here. We can adopt this law with consultation with our consultant, or we can postpone the adoption of this law. Francia.
I just wanted to say that we, as Mel pointed out, we spent a lot of time on this since last November, and we reviewed the entire zoning law, and this was the one that, especially with your direction, you said, let's pull this piece out so we can try to get it implemented sooner than the other zoning law. If we postpone it, aren't we just putting it in together with everything else that's a much bigger, longer conversation? The zoning people can't have reviewed it, the consultant has reviewed it. I think it's pretty much ready to go to vote today, so that we can move on to the other steps to take out of this.
Right, because it has to go through an environmental assessment review, it has to go to the county planning board. Yes, that's correct. There are more steps. Okay. All right, so let me call the question. I want to put a motion on the table that we adopt in principle this local law and proceed with the formal review with the county and the environmental assessment. And should there be any issues that arise, it will come back to the village board for reconsideration and subsequent adoption. But should there be no issues raised by the county planning or the environmental assessment, we would move forward with the document as presented. So that's my motion. Was that clear? Yes?
I would not like to adopt. Knowing what I know about the parking situation, I would not like to adopt it. I would not support it.
You don't, okay. All right, so
I second his motion. I think it's not the right time.
Can you talk on that?
I second the motion.
the motion is to adopt this parking law amendment to provide for a parking district overlay to relieve the requirements of commercial businesses in the mixed-use district for satisfying specific parking on their properties. Okay, so that's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I want to hear Sam's motion as well as regarding this.
Oh, is it Sam's opinion?
The vote, yeah. What was your Sam?
We need to have a second to this motion. I made a motion. Okay. Okay, so Aaron seconded the motion. And so then we move to a vote. So we'll take a roll call vote. Um, or all those in favor adopting this parking law amendment, say aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
I would appreciate if the board members could explain their leverage, each of them on why not, why they're not supporting this. Reason. What's the reason?
After saying shame on you, we're not gonna, they don't have to say anything.
I think the public is entitled to know people of each board.
You wouldn't say shame on you, would explain you, you said shame on you, you said shame on you, okay, you said shame on you, you're not supposed to, you said shame on you,
Can't hear
Can you speak louder so we can hear your words?
you. Public meeting.
This is not a public meeting, this is a
This is a
conversation.
public meeting.
I think we closed the meeting.
This is a public meeting.
We closed the
The second
meeting.
board meeting is a closed meeting. This is a public meeting.
the board doesn't have to explain how to vote. I mean, it's public hearing, they closed the public hearing, they just voted, you can't really canvass the board like this.
But this is not really a board of trustee. We don't really trust you.
Okay, so the parking law amendment has failed.
I think that these board members have conflicts of interest. They have businesses and they don't have other businesses.
I'm going to move on. So we.
You want businesses to
We're moving on here. We took a vote.
Excuse me, this is not a public hearing.
Excuse me, wait.
This is not a public hearing.
What's your vote?
We closed the public hearing.
Yeah. Okay, we have,
Let till the end.
right, so we have closed the public hearing, the motion failed. We closed the public hearing, we went to a vote from the village board. I vote in favor of the amendment. So, so now I'm going to the regular agenda of the village board of directors. I wanted to acknowledge.
Please hold your comments. Excuse me,
Okay.
this is not a public hearing.
Okay. Let us proceed. Let us proceed. Okay. Let's proceed with the village board meeting. We're on the agenda for the announcements. I wanted to express my appreciation to Fleischman's First for the running operation of the street fair, and to express appreciation to Heidi Stonier for her event that was open to the public, to the volunteers Rob Allison for having created the gardening opportunities at the gazebo and elsewhere in the Flower Barrel campaign, Ann Hirsch, who was helping to direct the kiosk project, to Doug Green, who has rebuilt the majority of the plots in the community garden, and John Frankowiak, who has helped with the furnishing and of the code enforcement office. I'd like you to sign those cards for to acknowledge their contribution as volunteers. Yes. Thank you, Kathy Green and Doug Green and his team of people who put together. Okay. Moving on, want to approve the minutes for the meeting for Monday, May 9th. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as prepared and circulated?
Motion to accept minutes. I second it.
Okay. We have reports from the wastewater treatment plant operator, the water plant operator, code enforcement reports, the financial report for May 30th. And I want to move to Sam, do you want to comment on the road repair as the deputy highway superintendent, our plans around Breezy Hill and Lake Street?
Yes, yes. So for those that are coming down on Breezy Hill, probably you guys noticed that there's been work already start cleaning up Breezy Hill at the bottom of Breezy Hill and Main Street. That's just the beginning. We eventually going to start cleaning up. We're going to have, our hopes are to get that road clean and paved by the end of the summer. Memorial, Labor Day weekend. Lake Street, that's still on the project, the same agenda. We should be getting, pretty soon from Tweety to come over and start cleaning up, right? And so they work on this, the ice. And once again, those two projects are aimed to be completed, everything going well as far as weather permitting by the end of the summer. So we have that stuff going on.
Right. So
Breezy Hill, how far from Main Street?
Please.
It's from the beginning of Main Street, Aaron, to the part where actually is, pretty much deteriorated. The whole Breezy Hill, it's probably about 1/8 of a mile from Main Street to Breezy Hill.
Is what past the Switzerland Avenue or further off?
No, this is on, it's further up.
it goes to the village line.
It goes to the
It's
village line.
1,800 feet from Main Street. So the rough road is 900 feet, and then there's a satisfactory road for an additional 900 feet. We have switched the sequence because of the delay with Tweety on the Lake Street. We have accelerated the Breezy Hill Road repair, so that might in fact occur before the completion of the Lake Street. We've gotten both of our bids in for them to proceed with the work. Any delays on Lake Street have to do with the delays in the retrofit project that is handled by Tweety. So we have set in motion both the pavings for both of them, and the Breezy Hill might actually come ahead of the Lake Street, given the construction that's going on there. So, and you want to comment on the crosswalk plans?
The crosswalks, we have plans to mark lines for the crosswalks on Depot Street, Wagner Avenue. We have Main Street right here. We have Wagner Avenue and Main Street. And then we're planning to do also Lake Street and Main Street, Lake and Main. So we have that also on the works. And once again, everybody's been busy. Our co-workers are on a daily basis busy, Porky and Sean. As soon as they make some time, that's the plan to get that done before the busy season starts.
Right.
So that's the crosswalks.
Right. Now, for the crosswalks, in addition, we're planning to do the stop lines at the intersection of Ellsworth Avenue and across from where the bridge is located, because those stop signs are not consistently adhered to. So we're going to put some white stop lines to raise the bar on compliance over there. We have gotten, as part of the municipal agreement with the Margaretville, they are working with us with their striking machine. They have a lot of experience with it. They're going to work with Corky and Sean, and hopefully within the next 10 days, they will be able to implement these crosswalks here in the village. So that's the plans there. So can we go on to, you want to report, Stuart, on the facilities report? What's happened?
Yes, we've worked a little bit on the tree that was leaning into the library. We had that cut and removed. That was about to come through our window, and we also had an estimate done to remove all the tree growth between the buildings on both sides of the theater. Those trees grew up, and they're about 10 years old, and they grew through the roof of the theater, and it cost us quite a bit of damage. So we're in the process of fixing those holes in the theater and trying to get those trees removed.
Moving on to the pool report.
So the other thing with the pool is, we had to order a new pump, a pump that is gonna be working for the swimming pool. That was ordered and it should be here this week. Once it gets here, it's gonna be installed. Then we're gonna fill up the pool, and we're gonna get we're gonna try to get the company back in so that they can start it up and train us how to use all the new system on the swimming pool. Go ahead.
Sam, did you take your course?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
And you
did.
passed?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Dan?
Oh, what's the timeline for all this?
You want to take questions now or later?
Later?
Yes.
Catherine, do you want to update us on the kiosk and the plans for matching of all the public spaces? You do it at a later time. We have completed the work initially on the kiosk at the entrance to the village. We have now seated 3 benches at the entrance, and we are having the 4 of the 7 cherry trees did not blossom, so they're being replaced by the landscaper. And they're also reorganizing to facilitate the benches within the garden area to make it a more welcoming entrance, so that as people garden, they will feel free to stop and sit in the garden and look at our kiosk. So we're doing some tweaking on that. Fundraising opportunities. Aaron, do you have anything to contribute on that at this point?
So it works. We signed forms, whatever had to be signed, we signed.
Excuse me,
I'm waiting for
can
an
I
answer.
use the microphone, please?
All the forms were signed at the correct time. Now I'm waiting for an answer from them. No, gave in the papers. They were signed correctly.
You have to speak closer to the microphone, please.
I'm saying that all the forms were signed for the Aldi funds and the correct time and the signatures. We gave it in, and now we're waiting for an answer. There's no answer yet. It's just recently, the past week, that we gave it in. So you have to wait.
to see what, excuse me? So there's a lot of funds available from the government for a lot of different situations, for the
projects and the.
for the water system, to improve the water system, to improve some streets, a lot of different
It's
funds.
not explicit.
Yeah, be specific.
I can't be specific.
Is that because you don't know?
Oh, I can't divulge everything that I signed. The mayor knows about it, and that's it.
No, when you were with her.
It's for the benefit of the village. That's all.
Then tell us, then tell us.
Can you enumerate them?
We're working with fundraising proposals with the MARC project to provide funding for through the homes and renewal program of the New York State. The New York State home program funded by, where is it? The strategy that we are using is to develop a capacity to assist property owners to renovate or demolish existing properties which are have not been repaired to a level of suitable occupancy or usage in the village. So it's intended to create an environment where we can provide property owners the ability to access grant funds. So this is a program that we've had with the Main Street, Main Street funding that would allocate funds on a competitive basis. We would be authorized to initiate with property owners the ability for them to access grant funds through this grant program. So it's a New York Restore program, and it's homes and community renewal programs. So this is both to affect property owners and to fund the theater for potential occupancy of the theater. So this is a strategy that it's the first, this first one is rolled out now as we speak. There will be the 2 or 3 more of the Restore program that will take place in July, 2 in July, that will raise a substantially larger amount of funds. Right now, the first funding application is for $20,000. The next one is going to be for $500,000. So that is what we're working on with the MARC project, to facilitate money coming into the village for rehabilitation of properties here in the village on Main Street and on Wagner Avenue. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, the majority of that be used for the theater and for facilities owned by the village of Flashpoint?
No, the theater is the only one which is in the mix for village-owned properties. All the others would be privately owned properties.
So the majority of the money will be allocated where?
We don't allocate it. It becomes a competitive opportunity. We have to apply for the capability for individual property owners to apply. So this is money is not being awarded to the village. It will be awarded to those in the village who satisfy the competitive application under this grant.
This is the Main Street grant.
Yes, yeah, the Main Street grant. Yes, Ms. Gloria. Yes, yes. Yes, this was initiated because we identified at least 6 properties that were substantially underutilized, in bad shape. And wanted to raise money to facilitate either those property owners to access those funds or to sell the properties for others to access those funds. So it's to facilitate economic development in the village.
Then we know which other properties beside it.
I'd rather not, uh, I'd rather not, because it affects individual private property owners and, so,
Transparent, transparent.
what I can say is you can go through the village and identify properties which are, vacant, unused, boarded up, and as well as anybody else can identify those properties
So it's vacant, unused, and boarded up.
boarded up.
And then you decide what are the easements to smoke and white issues.
No. That's another funding stream. That's another funding stream that we have tasked the Cedarwood, our wastewater treatment operator, to submit that application. So there, as Aaron said, there are a half dozen initiatives that we have launched, none of which we do the writing ourselves, but which we authorize other people to raise the money on our behalf. Okay, next agenda item. The zoning review committee undertook a survey of the community and we circulated a questionnaire that addressed issues that it might affect zoning. So that was the purpose of this survey to residents. We sent out approximately 200 surveys to property owners. We got 44 responses, which was impressive. And I'm going to highlight just a few items. This is a document that was many of you probably saw it because you would have received this and either responded or not. But of the responses, 77% of the respondents said they were either,
I have a short summary, which I prepared for today, which basically mirrors everything you're about to say. So let me just give everybody a copy.
this is a board. This is a document that is being used by the board, and I understand. And so this is a board document, and in the absence of, as the board has a chance to digest the issues that were raised, let me just do a quick comment. Those who responded said they were 77% said they were very pleased, very satisfied or satisfied with living and or working in Fleischmann's. So there was a real reflection that people loved being here. 77% positive responses. There is provision for anecdotal responses about why they said yes or why they said no to are they satisfied. And of the positive responses, the largest was the people loved the small town ambience, then they liked the recreational opportunities, and they felt it was convenient. So there were 65 positive responses. Negative responses indicated about half the size of the positive ones. Blight was the largest. Few businesses was a negative response. Too many people in the summer. Then unresponsive government. Then too few people in the village. And no regulations. And issues about mixed zoning. Another significant comment was more than half of the respondents felt that there should be stronger property maintenance codes and enforcement. So this is for the board to digest and recognize what the concerns are of people who live and work here in the village, and for the village board to consider how to address the negatives. Positive take care of themselves. So that's that.
Based on the survey and based on the vote about the parking regulations, it doesn't seem that this village board is really concerned about the future of this village.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
I don't understand, the people point out 1366, the house, because that's the worst piece in the town. The person who put this together lives in 1366. It's a shame how that property looks. Why are they busy with garbage and other property?
oh,
Go look at 1366.
all right, so let's move on. Let's move on. The standard workday resolution, no, excuse me, Abe, this is a village board meeting. Excuse me, this is a village board meeting, and I would like to call this to order, or we will have to close this meeting. But the next item on the agenda is a standard workday resolution, which is a mandatory process we go through where we identify individuals who are new as employees and have to report to the New York local retirement system on their behalf with time and allocation. So this, I am looking for a resolution to adopt the standard workday resolution as circulated.
Motion to adopt.
Okay, Stuart. And Jasmine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For new business, we are adopting the resolution for the New York Main Street Technical Assistance Program as circulated. And we need a resolution to support that application. Hold on, where is it? Item resolution by the Village of Fleischman's approving and endorsing the MARC project in its application to New York State Homes and Community Renewal for funding under the New York Main Street Technical Assistance Program. Whereas MARC project desires to apply for the first $20,000 in financial assistance through the consolidated funding application. Funding to assist property owners to plan for building renovations to downtown Main Street buildings on Main Street or their demolition. Contribute to ongoing community revitalization efforts. The grant application requires the applicant to obtain the approval and endorsement of the governing body of the municipality. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Fleischmann approves and endorses the 2022 New York Main Street Technical Assistance application for assistance prepared and to be submitted by the MARC project. So can I have a motion?
Motion to approve
To the resolution as read. Can I have a second? And Aaron? Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, so we now have a, let me skip to the letter of support for the Spillingen Historic Property Designation as circulated. So we adopted we wrote a letter in support of Spillingen's historic property designation. And it's an FYI. We support other people and they will support us. This Next item is a proposal that bear with me a minute. Let me see. I This is a proposal for discussion among us board members. This is intended to address the parking and traffic safety challenges at the synagogue located at the Main Street, on Main Street, just east of the intersection of Depot and Main Street. It is the Spinka Synagogue. The road is narrower than the DOT, Department of Transportation current standards for roads, as is true for most all roads in the village of Fleischmann's. Main Street is the primary road in Fleischmann's and needs to be addressed. At times of their services at the Spinka congregation, there is congestion due to parking, drop-off of participants and pedestrians. A dangerous situation occurs when emergency vehicles cannot get through, and if there are pedestrians walking in the streets, it can be inconvenient for cars to wait for a single lane traffic to pass. Friday afternoons, evenings is a time of higher traffic volumes generally throughout the village. There is no area in the village where the road width meets the standards for DOT, so that we are obligated as good neighbors to, with regard to two-lane traffic and parking, that there's very little locations in the village where you can have two lanes of traffic and parking. So this is not an unusual situation. So I am making a proposal, I as the mayor, in an effort to alleviate this congestion, I propose the following. Provide for managed parking in the area of the synagogue during the times of religious services from Friday to 3 to 6 p.m. and from Sunday from 9:30 to 12:30. We would enforce no parking no parking zone in front of that stretch of Main Street surrounding the congregation at all times other than the time of their services and related activities. The village would issue an event permit treat it as an event permit as it has for other types of activities in the village, such as the street fair, concerts in the evening, to allow for parking on the street. So the village would issue a permit that will permit parking along Main Street in the no parking zone adjacent to the synagogue for the hours of the religious service and related activities. No parking in front of the synagogue at any time to allow for drop-offs and pickups, and to allow for emergency vehicles to pass, and to require a parking monitor to assist with drop-offs, pickup, and pedestrian conflicts during the services and related activities. This proposal was presented to the fire department because that's the group that had the most concerns about the safety and with respect to emergency vehicles and the passing along that stretch of Main Street. So I'm making this proposal to develop this plan with the Spinka congregation to allow them to park during their services for the period of time from July 1 to September 5th, or a suitable period of time for their congregational meetings. So, are there comments?
Only on those 2 days, Friday and Sunday.
That's correct.
And what about movie that they have services every morning?
We are trying to accommodate a congregation during the time of high traffic and high conflict. And we are trying to accommodate them when in fact no parking is allowed at all. So in an effort to facilitate and to be consistent with how we provide permissions to other activities and events, we are offering this for this period of time. This is a walking village. We encourage people to walk, to find remote parking, to adjust their lifestyles in a manner that's consistent with the type of village we are and wish to be. Not everybody, so this proposal is not intended to satisfy everybody's needs at all times. It's to provide a window during periods of high congestion. Yes,
Yes, I would like to remind the board and the people sitting in this room of the history of how the Spinka synagogue was built. It was first asked to be a living room. At that time, there was no parking on that side of the street ever. Once the synagogue was built under the auspices of being a living room and not a synagogue, then the Spinka asked for parking regulations there. Well, they knew when they built the synagogue that there was no parking there. But then they had the audacity to say, well, now we have a synagogue that was supposed to be built as a living room, but now it's a synagogue and now we require parking.
right.
Furthermore, some time ago, maybe 6 months ago, the speaker applied to extend their building further into the street. And there was either a ZBA hearing about that or a board meeting, I don't quite remember, and it was granted to them. And it was at that time it was said that that would even further make the area narrow. So I don't understand why this should be accommodated, because
Okay.
all along the way, there was misinformation.
Thank you. Just a moment, Mr. Horowitz.
I would like to add, as every human being have a house in the village, have able to park, everyone understand their need for the house. And when we built the synagogue, we have all permission to, but unfortunately, certain people in the village try to block us because we Jewish and try to.
Just a moment, just a moment, I'm sorry. Look, be respectful here. Just a moment. Just a moment. This is a public, this is a board meeting. We do not have to have any comments from anyone here. I am encouraging you to hold your tongues, that allow people to speak. If you choose not to have respect for other people, they should not, that is on you. If you choose not to respect others, that's on you. Here we choose to respect people, allow them to speak and to provide the kind of information they wish to provide. We are not in the business of relitigating past issues. History is important, but we want to provide a path going forward that allows for healthy, safe roads and experiences in the village. So I would like everyone to not speak, allow any speaker to speak their piece, and we could go on to the next speaker. So, Mr. Havertz.
I would like to take that back, as of correct, we said that the city, the city people are hating the city community, which is very nice people to everyone, and trying to get along with everyone. But unfortunately, again, back then, we built a synagogue where everyone, we had to have all permissions to build a synagogue in the village for the few people who couldn't see that, be able to stand, be able to grow literally to our needs, and they try to block the every aspect as possible. So finally, we get to see over the building that stop us parking, which is all over the place, nobody cares, nobody bothers, nobody looking at, which is only 2 months a year would make a big deal to make such a hassle of this little spot where people park all over the Wagner Avenue or other places, which is people took down signs, which I don't want to mention names and stories, which people give donations from the village, which everything was okay, everything quiet, everything is fine. But when she mentioned that the porch, which we want to extend it to the village was ZBA, was a little porch, which by law, the square footage is allowed to have it. Just creating a whole story for the whole chaos to create it. And finally, when we all went through all this ZBA with all things we went through, we said, oh, you're right, you can stay, you can have whatever you need, you're allowed to have it. Meaning to say is always trying to look out to block us and to destroy destroyed what we can make closer and not we should not be able to live comfortable in the village. So I'm asking, please, all this no parking signs, that to be removed, it doesn't make any sense, not for the other places either, and none of this, all these people, which are nice gentlemen, I'm sure none of them will have this sign if in front of their houses will be happy and be understandable, just because they see them, they can point of us, which has caused us a lot of anti-Semitism during the year, because there are no parking signs, and people can drive by, and throwing stones, you're not allowed to park here, which is not just random people coming to the village.
Thank you, thank you. Abe Randlevick.
Compared to a regular avenue, it's a wide street. When you get to Congregation of Ninth Road, it's narrow. That's the only spot that there is no parking signs over there. Why? It's about the same size. It's about the same.
Yeah, you're right, it's congested there.
The whole,
Yeah, what I can say,
let me just finish. What bothers me, I live on Wagner Avenue, I don't mind for car parks here and there. But the same people who complain on this and this couple spots, they don't complain when there's a game or people park on both sides, two traffic cannot go through. And when the synagogue is busy, it doesn't bother me, but don't selective enforcement. Those signs should be taken off completely. I lived here for 30 years, I did not see those signs 30 years ago. I did not see those signs, excuse me, it's my time. It's my time. Whenever you said no, I know. I have to say
excuse
yes.
me,
Because, okay, no, okay, and it's my time now, I want to finish.
yes,
Those signs, I don't remember 30 years ago, I don't remember them 25 years ago. It's the mayor lived across and he chose that time to put up signs, and there's no reason those signs should be there. No reason.
we have zoning laws, the parking laws, which specify, and I think it was 1998. But
Was not no, when we built a new synagogue, was not no members to come to the synagogue, the same amount of members, so they can't see the big building, it's a nice building, they call synagogue, they can see them building a little space for them, just trying to see, oh, you have a bigger synagogue, you have to have more parking space, which unfortunately, the amount of people didn't expand,
okay,
grows from the one smaller synagogue to the bigger synagogue, but the hate unfortunately grows very much.
thank you, Mr. Horowitz. Michelle. Friday afternoons from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and Sunday mornings from 9:30 to 12:30.
I'm not accepting this out. Makes no sense. These hours are no hours. You're not accepting hours, it just makes it not Saturday.
Well, this is a proposal on the table. In the absence of this proposal, there is no relief. So, yes, Marilyn. Yeah, excuse me.
There's a lot of people who that are Jewish. A lot of people, some are reformed and the conservatives and modern. We may not practice the same way, but we do share some. So, we're going to say, well, we're going to, we suffered a lot of us have families that we went to. And, like, never, I don't think personally, sensitivity. And it really, it's more than just a sense at the root of it. You want to go a lot of there because it's so true. So, when you say we're against that, that we
feel my way over the years. I can't speak to
Right. Are there others who wish to make comments? Okay. Gloria and then Anita.
Before and after.
It's before and after the Sabbath. These hours were selected and presented as being before and
It's not 24 hours. We may set 9 at 2 afternoon to 6 p.m. Friday. It's not 24 hours. No, May says Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. They bring the morning, they bring later, and using 6 till Shabbos, which doesn't make any sense. And they're just confusing the hours. And how are you gonna work a permit? I'm gonna have to have my house. When the troopers show up, they give a ticket, say 1 second, I gotta look for a permit. If I'm not there, somebody else gonna look for it, or I can't find it, wait 2 minutes, or now we have it past 2.
So this-
I would suggest the best thing is to do for the best of us, I'm asking please, which we all need, the right thing to do is 2-hour sign, 2-hour parking sign, which used to be in Fleischman's, was okay with that. Used to be, I don't wanna say mayor or name for mayor who put it up, which is, they put it up during main streets on a lot of places, which everyone that was okay, would approve it. I'm asking is, this makes more sense to have a 2-hour parking sign in front of the narrow spot, not in front of the synagogue, which is the wider spot, which doesn't make sense to me. We should do it in front of the residence,
Okay.
which is narrow, I think it's 20 feet or something, which makes it more difficult to pass by. 2-hour parking sign is the most correct thing to do. This whole hour doesn't make sense, confusing people, hesitating, oh, you passed it, try, be around the people who pass by.
Okay, I understand your point.
This is not a job for other people, thank you.
Okay, so this does not have weight. This, based on our earlier conversation, this is not,
Yeah, and if I may say something, I'm sorry, I don't want to say something else when we spoke. When we spoke last week, I only give me a choice to say yes and yes, which I told you the first time, already, a long time, there's 2-hour parking sign has to be, and you deny that. When we spoke, I feel that it's only a yes, this is the timing, this is the timing, this is the timing. I didn't move on. Since we left, I met other people, and I said, this is not the right thing what I wanted, this is not the right thing what to do to the community. This is just going to create more hate and more problems.
all right, so, at this point, excuse me, let us, that this proposal has raised a lot of issues and questions, so we'll go back to the drawing board on this, given considerations. Nita, Vicky, Michelle.
I want to correct, Mr. Horowitz, that those signs will always no parking. I'm here to almost.
Can you do that for me, please?
I don't have photographs.
I do have.
Okay, when the synagogue was built, it was built it was asked to be built as a living room, not as a place for public concentration. At that time, you knew there was no parking there. There was no parking at the time that you applied for that first application. No, I'm being
Okay.
respectful. And
I'm just asking you, I
Okay.
Excuse me, you knew at the time that there was no parking there, but you went ahead.
Yeah, Anita, you made this comment before, that's the second time you made that comment, is there any comments? Are there any comments that have not yet been made? John, oh, I'm sorry, Vicky, then Janet, then, Vicky, Michelle, then Janet.
Major issue with this parking is safety, the process to get through, and if anything, God forbid, you have to get through. Okay, is it possible, just for Shabbat, to reroute the bus and the ambulance? Because the only difference that will make for an ambulance might be 1 or 2 minutes. And the bus that you rerouted just for that 24-hour period.
I hear you. Any other comments, Michelle?
I suggest that the issue of parking in front of this particular location be adjusted if this exception to the parking be accepted. Because it is very clear that the vote has been manipulated once again.
This is not Wall
Wow.
Street.
Okay, just a moment,
You don't go here.
so, Janet, Janet, you have a comment?
I'll say it, I vote here.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, I would rather not be a taxpayer, all right? I have owned property.
Come over here like you're running
We
the
should
show.
stop
You're not
this.
running the
Okay,
show.
excuse me, just a moment,
Stop your time. The loser is you.
just a moment.
No, stop it. Respect, you the one talking.
Say apology.
People, to the board has to be respected. Be ashamed. By saying for the board, be ashamed, that's again, that, you cannot say anything no
I
more.
can say what I want to say.
Excuse me.
Be ashamed.
I'm going to have to abandon this meeting, now,
So you shouldn't have signs. What's the difference?
And it's not on the road there, and nobody cares if it's going to drive through.
An ambulance could go through. They make an ambulance.
okay, I am closing this meeting now, and I would like everyone to take their discussions out on the porch. And we will continue, we have other businesses to, conduct here, and, we will continue with okay, so I am now closing the discussion on this, policy. No, this, as I presented, this was for discussion purposes. This is not a vote. Okay, right now, I want to call for an executive session because we have some staffing issues to discuss. So the board will go into, I need to have a motion to go into executive session. Okay, yes.
Since we are expanding the meeting, could you tell us what the timeline on the pool is? What is the expected timeline on the pool? You said a pump is expected this week.
This week,
You said that if you can get the contractor here.
yes.
You will build.
Michelle, we're aiming
Yes,
for Independence Day, for that weekend.
okay.
Okay.
Has there been outreach to the contractor? What remedy has recent, since the last?
Okay, we already spoke about this. We have. So I just said, the contractor is waiting for our confirmation of the pump, physically having the pump here.
Contractor is waiting for
The
that.
contractor,
And
once we do that, then they will look at their schedule and come here before
The contractor.
Independence. Yes.
Perfect.
So, yes,
Confirmed.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Excuse me, there was no problem with the pump last year when we were working on this.
Well, there was a problem this time when the contractor came.
But it wasn't used in the last 12
It was
months.
leaking.
How there developed a
Big-
problem.
The pump was not in service last summer.
It was
So,
not in service.
it was not in service last
So
summer.
wasn't it any pump?
No,
It was not?
No.
So how come we didn't know about this last summer?
we're not prepared to answer that question at this point.
Okay.
So we have a executive committee meeting. We're going to adjourn to the office and for the purpose of discussing staffing.
Staff.
Have a good night.